Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first podcast. Yes, I am starting a podcast, and if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. Thank you for watching the video component of this podcast. If you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you just being here. Again, this is my very first episode, and it is a podcast focused on, you guessed it, anti-aging, longevity, health, and wellness. So I am very happy and excited to be here. I have been wanting to do this for the longest time. If you know anything about me, if you've been watching my videos on YouTube, you know that I am really into anti-aging research and reading the research and disseminating it and really analyzing what's in there in regard to anti-aging and the things that I can apply to my own life. And I'm very excited that I can finally bring long form content here on YouTube. I'm getting used to the whole podcasting thing. I haven't built a studio yet or anything like that. The lighting isn't great, so sorry about that. But hopefully, the information I provide you in this sort of long form piece of content will be beneficial. So if you're a viewer of me on YouTube, you know that I put out YouTube shorts and vlogs and videos, and they are, roughly between 30 seconds to up to 20 minutes. But in these videos, I can't really provide a great deal of context. So a lot of the things I talk about is anti-aging in relation to nutrition, skincare, lifestyle, health and wellness, mental, emotional health, things that I definitely want to discuss on this podcast in detail. But I can't provide a lot of context in those videos because they're so short. And I think one of the things that a lot of people are reaching for now and in the future are going to be longer form content like podcast or longer videos on YouTube. Again, if you're here on YouTube, I know a lot of people are reaching for those sort of longer style vlogs these days. So that's what I'm definitely trying to accomplish going forward. The podcasts are going to be focused on nutrition as it relates to anti-aging, some skincare research as it relates to anti-aging, as well as different lifestyle things that you can do to elevate your overall physical health, mental health, and emotional health, because it's all tied together and it's all tied to longevity. It is all tied to skin integrity and anti-aging, both the visible effects as well as the biological molecular effects of aging. Slowing down the biological clock is really important. It's importantly tied to those mental, emotional, and physical. All three of those just form a holistic viewpoint and approach to anti-aging. So there is a lot of research out there. Again, one of the things that I like to do on my downtime is to read the literature, read the medical literature, and really find ways that I can apply it to my own life. But I'm very excited that I can come here in this podcast and really talk about that research in detail and really dive into different topics. And there's so many topics, so many anti-aging topics to discuss, and so many nutritional topics to discuss, and so many health and wellness and mental, emotional health and well-being. Again, I'm not in a studio, so you can probably hear in the background the car running on the road back there, Speedway. But there's so many topics that I want to dive into, and I'm so excited that I can have this opportunity to focus an hour or more in these podcasts to talk about health and health research and medical research as it relates, again, to anti-aging specifically. And I might throw, some curveballs in there, some other aspects of health and wellness in there that I find really interesting and fascinating, because I really want this to be a weekly podcast here on YouTube as well as on Apple Music and Spotify. I always want to say Apple Music, but it's Apple Podcast and Spotify. So you can either listen to it on the go, watch the video, or just listen to it in the background. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? So we're pretty much at 5 minutes here in this podcast. And what I want to do for a lot of these episodes is kind of start off with kind of obviously the introduction. So sort of like summarize what I'm going to talk about, and then start off with a product that I have been using that I really like, and then I want to talk about just sort of like the research and the science behind it. So just to start off with this episode is going to be focused on anti-aging compounds, nutritional molecules, and compounds. So I will be looking down at my computer because I do have a plethora of notes, so I won't be making a ton of eye contact. So if you're watching the video, sorry about that. But yeah, this is going to be focusing on anti-aging nutritional molecules and compounds. And these are just sort of a handful of compounds and molecules and nutritional aspects, nutrients that I find have a great deal of science backed behind them, that are fantastic for specifically the visible aspects of aging as well as the biological aspects of aging. Now, I wanted to just devote an entire episode to these handful of compounds, but in future episodes, I want to focus on each individually and really dive into each of the individual molecules or compounds, the research behind them, and really maybe spend like an hour on talking about the research and the products and how to apply them to your everyday life and things like that. But just to, introduce the topics, I wanted to just focus on, a brief overview of each of these compounds. And so I will get into those. Just a reminder, and I have this down in my description, but this podcast is not meant to replace medical advice. It is not medical advice whatsoever. So yeah, this is not meant to replace medical advice. This is really just for educational purposes. Really, we're just diving into the research and the things that I do from an anti-aging perspective in my own life. So I'm just, discussing, what's out there, what's published in the literature, and I have all the references down below in the description so you can check it out. And really just talking about, what I do in my own everyday experience. So that's what this podcast is really meant to be. It's just for educational purposes so that you can take this education, you can take this information, and you can go off on your own, do your own research, your own reading, and just sort of, discover what works for you. And that's sort of my hope for this podcast. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the first segment. So the first segment I wanted to do in this podcast is talk about a product that I have been using for a while and that I actually really like, and kind of delve a little bit into the science behind it. So if you've been watching my videos on YouTube, you know that I have a couple of videos on biotin. And when I talk about biotin, a lot of people reach for biotin supplements for hair growth, nail, skin health, and honestly, there is some research to suggest that biotin supplements do improve hair growth, hair density, the rate at which hair growth, it improves skin health and nail health. And it makes sense because there is an association between biotin deficiency and brittle nails, hair thinning. People with biotin deficiency have hair thinning. So that is definitely a thing. But the opposite of that is, in contrast, relatively few cases of biotin deficiency, especially in the West. A lot of people aren't deficient in biotin unless you are eating raw egg whites. Egg whites contain avidin, which is a protein that can bind to biotin and shuttle it out of the body. So that can definitely increase your chances of biotin deficiency or any sort of like nutritional deficiency that if you're not eating enough, you're not getting enough nutrients, then you definitely need to see your doctor and get tested for those nutrients. But I think that for the most part, people aren't deficient in biotin. So whether or not you really need a biotin supplement where you're getting 8,000, 10,000, 15,000% of your daily value is debatable, especially since that a lot of the research on biotin, can you hear that? Need to be careful about that because I did invest in a microphone that would help with my podcast. So if you may not need it because a lot of the research anyway, the findings are somewhat inconsistent. So whether or not biotin is really helping hair growth is debatable. But on the flip side of that, I have been using a biotin supplement, and I have talked about this in one of my biotin vlogs, on YouTube. And this is the Mary Ruth's. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies that I'm going to discuss, but it's just a product that I really like. This is the Mary Ruth's biotin gummies. The biotin gummies, these are different in that they are sugar-free. They're tasty. They have goji berry and they're pectin based, which is nice. But the thing about the biotin gummies, I'm not taking it for necessarily the biotin. I have perceived, and it may be a placebo effect. I don't know. It very well could be. But I have perceived the rate at which my hair grows is a lot faster. It was already pretty fast before, but a lot faster. It feels thicker and stronger. And I really like just sort of what I perceive anyway, the benefits that I perceive. It could be hallucinating. I don't know. But the difference between this and just a pure biotin supplement is that it doesn't just contain biotin. So this has methylated folate in it. So folate, or folic acid, which is typically in the supplement form, folate is found, it's a B vitamin. It's found in like green vegetables, spinach, kale, broccoli. It's even found in beans. So like Great Northern beans and pinto beans and black beans, things like that. Very, very high in folate. The thing about folate is it helps to reduce homocysteine in the body. This also has a high amount of vitamin B12. So I believe this is a vegan supplement. So it's a vegan source of B12, and it is also non-GMO. So both folate and B12, these are both B vitamins. These help to lower homocysteine in the body. Homocysteine is a marker for inflammation. So a buildup of homocysteine in the body, and this can be very common because not a lot of people are getting folate in their diet. Because again, it's found mostly in vegetables. Not a lot of people are high in B12 either. Even meat eaters, people who eat meat, aren't always high in B12. Both of these B vitamins help to reduce homocysteine in the body, and the accumulation of homocysteine in the body. I mean, inflammation is associated with inflammaging, which is basically the aging, both the visible signs as well as the biological and molecular signs, the cellular aging is tied to inflammation. Inflammation is a driver in the pathogenesis of aging. Now, when it comes to the skin, inflammation definitely contributes to acne and skin disorders, but aging is also associated with inflammation, the visible signs of aging, because especially when it's induced by UV, but definitely induced by diet. If you have a diet that's rich in processed foods and sugars and meat proteins, like high amounts of proteins or refined carbohydrates, you're getting that inflammation. And if you don't have any sort of anti-inflammatory compounds in your diet that are trying to fight that off, it's going to be really hard to lead a sort of anti-aging defense lifestyle. So I think that homocysteine is one of the things that it does, in addition to just driving inflammation, is it's related to high amounts of hydrogen peroxide in the body. So hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, and this causes reactive oxygen species or oxidative damage in the cells and tissues, and is also associated with the graying of the hair. So we talk about the visible signs of aging. We often talk, I'm touching my hair right now. We often talk about the face and the skin, but when it comes to the hair, homocysteine, hydrogen peroxide is, when we're young, we have certain endogenous antioxidants in our body, like catalase and superdioxide dismutase. Catalase in particular helps to break down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen, O2. So that is no problem. So there's not that buildup, and we don't have as much inflammation and oxidation in our body. But over time, it's harder for our body to produce catalase, or the catalase, in addition to other things like ubiquinone and or CoQ10, as well as ceramides in the skin. These decline with age, so it's harder for the body to break down hydrogen peroxide, and so there's more reactive oxygen species going on. And homocysteine, I'm really getting into it, but I haven't even started talking about the topic of today's episode. But homocysteine, I'll get through this quickly. Homocysteine, the buildup of that is associated with high levels of hydrogen peroxide in the body, and so it can't break down that hydrogen peroxide, especially as time goes on. You don't have that catalase, or you're not doing things to increase the levels of catalase in your body, or the other endogenous antioxidant systems that we naturally have in our bodies. Then you're having that high homocysteine. You're having that high accumulation of the hydrogen peroxide, and ultimately that's what leads to the depigmentation of the hair shaft, or AKA the gray hair, the graying of the hair. So I think that, if I'm not saying that, taking B12 or folate is going to help prevent gray hair or increasing your intake of that, but I do believe it's all tied together in a holistic way. And I think that, for me, what I like to see in a hair supplement is not just biotin. I mean, maybe that's doing something, but B12 and folate is fantastic because then you have, not only is that going to be helping to improve your overall health and energy, and may improve the integrity of your hair and your skin and your nails, but it may in fact help to potentially, if the research suggests, or the research is applicable to everyday life or to real world situations, may be associated with a decrease in that homocysteine and a decrease in that inflammation, and may be important in helping to prevent against gray hair. Now, this is just all theory, but this has been definitely reported and talked about in the medical literature, and I would love to see more research on that and to see whether or not supplementation can actually prevent or at least delay the onset of gray hair. And I think that for many people, that could be very important. So that is awesome. It also has zinc, and that's great for hair, skin, and nails as well. 91% of your daily value. And the other thing it has in here that I think is really cool is a Chinese medicine extract, and it's faux tea extract, and it is Nutria multiflora root, and it is extract of that root. And one of the things that I found really interesting is that I actually pulled up a few studies, and this herb or this extract has been used for centuries as an anti-aging extract, or the plant has been used for centuries in anti-aging. And some of the research out there suggests that it may treat, or it may help to manage or prevent early hair graying. So we're back to the graying hair. So I think that's awesome that that provides these three things that have been at least implicated in the process of graying hair. So one of the research studies that I found said that this was in zebrafish embryos. So it's not humans, but a lot of the studies, a lot of dermatologic studies are performed in zebrafish embryos and larvae. But it showed that it was able to activate the MC1R, MITF, and tyrosinase signaling pathway, which is associated, the down regulation of that has been associated with early hair graying in young people. So the upregulation or the activation of that with an herbal plant or an extract is actually very promising, because it suggests that there may be an association between managing or preventing gray hair or the early onset of gray hair in young people with a plant-based product. So I think that's really interesting. Not saying that this is going to treat gray hair. I'm not saying that at all, but I think it's very interesting, and I definitely want to continue taking it for prevention purposes, as well as just, getting those nutrients in my diet, because again, it's very easy to be deficient or low in B12, regardless if you're on a vegan diet or a meat, carnivore diet or an omnivore diet. But it can be very challenging to even get folate in your diet. So I think it's really important to have some sort of like insurance policy, like a multivitamin or something like that, that you and your doctor can use. At least for me, I'm just talking from my own experience, that I just find that very assuring, and I enjoy using that. But I will leave all the references to what I just talked about on those nutrients down below. And yeah, let's go ahead, and I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll get into the topic of the podcast. All right, so we are back. So today, what we're going to talk about in today's podcast, like I said previously, this is on anti-aging nutritional molecules and compounds. And a lot of these episodes, I'm going to be talking really, just delving into the research. I'm hoping to have interviews later down the road with some experts in the field of anti-aging and nutrition and things like that. But right now, I really want to focus on a lot of the research that I've sort of pulled, that I've read over the years. I pull papers and I read papers constantly. I've read hundreds of papers on anti-aging and nutrition, and I wanted to pull the best research that I could find on these molecules and compounds, and really talk about them briefly in this podcast. But again, I want to devote full podcast episodes on each individual molecule and compound. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a deep dive into each of the ones that I'm going to talk about. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is, and anti-aging, you probably definitely know antioxidants are incredibly important, but they're not the complete puzzle. So let's just go briefly on antioxidants. These are important molecules, polyphenols, flavonoids, things that are found in fruits and tea and vegetables and nuts and seeds, and really basically plant-based products, you're going to find antioxidants, and they're especially rich in colorful vegetables and fruits, deep purples and oranges and yellows and greens. You're going to see a lot of antioxidants in these compounds, or these products, these food products. But antioxidants, the thing that I like about antioxidants is that you can get them pretty easily through food. You don't necessarily need to supplement. In fact, there's a lot of studies out there suggesting that supplementing with antioxidants probably isn't a good idea. And in fact, it may not be entirely safe or healthy, and it may not be promoting health in the same way that we would think based upon the mechanism of action. So antioxidants protect against oxidative damage, free radicals, reactive oxygen species in the body that are induced by the sun, pollutants in our environment, by just breathing, by exercise, by digesting. A lot of oxidation happens in the body. But let's just go ahead and talk about the anti-aging effects of antioxidants and just sort of look at it briefly, okay? So we know that extrinsic photoaging, we have DNA photo damage in our skin via UVA-generated reactive oxygen species, okay? We pretty much all know this. So when the sun hits our skin, yes, it can convert the cholesterol in our skin to an active form of vitamin D, ultimately, and increase our levels of vitamin D. But it can also cause DNA photo damage via generated reactive oxygen species, or ROS. So there's initial molecular events that lead to sort of a typical histological and clinical manifestations of chronic photoaging, and that's like wrinkles and fine lines and things like that. So you see that over time. You don't see that from the get-go. You may have a sunburn, you may have a tan, but over time, the accumulated photo damage that your skin receives causes wrinkling and sagging and just the overall impairment of the skin barrier and integrity. It reduces water content. It depletes your endogenous antioxidant system in your skin. So your CoQ10 or you become, oh my gosh, I can never say that. But yeah, the coenzyme Q10, your ceramides, your vitamin A, natural vitamin A and vitamin C in your skin is depleted through photo damage, through sun exposure. So sun avoidance is very helpful or at least using sunscreens and retinols. Retinols can actually help to prevent degradation of the skin's collagen and elastin by protecting against the generation of things called matrix metalloproteinases, which are proteins or enzymes that sort of chew up or degrade collagen and elastin. So sunscreen, sun avoidance, retinols, retinoids can be very helpful. But there's also antioxidants. So antioxidants, you can consume them. There's also products that you can apply antioxidants topically to your skin that may be of benefit. But these are compounds that basically inhibit oxidative stress caused by free radicals. Ultimately, antioxidants, what they do, they're compounds that have an extra electron that can donate. A free radical is a molecule, or a molecule that is unstable. So it is missing an electron. It's missing an electron, so it's unstable. Or I should say, it's unstable because it's missing an electron. So it can just sort of wreak havoc and cause a lot of damage. But what an antioxidant does is it ultimately donates an electron to that free radical, and thereby stabilizing the free radical and neutralizing its effects, its damaging effects. And that's basically what antioxidants do in the body. And there are endogenous antioxidant defenses in your body, like I mentioned previously, that are just naturally there. As time goes on, though, those can decline, but you can increase those endogenous antioxidants in your body through nutrition as well as exercise. So there are non-enzymatic antioxidants, and those are things like glutathione, bilirubin, albumin, as well as nutritional factors, vitamins, phenols, things like that. There's also enzymatic antioxidants, and that's something that I mentioned earlier, like catalase and superoxide dismutase and glutathione peroxidase. And I put catalase here twice. But yeah, these are enzymatic. So these are things that, like catalase, for example, enzymes basically break things, or catalyze reactions. So enzymes help to break down things like hydrogen peroxide. Catalase breaks down hydrogen peroxide. So it's an enzymatic reaction that happens and helps to just sort of break it into its individual components like water and oxygen, and just sort of like shuttle it out of the body, or at least neutralize its effects. The most known systematic antioxidants include vitamin C, vitamin E, carotenoids. So you have like retinoids, which is a derivative of vitamin A, and vitamin A. There's also trace elements like copper and selenium that act as antioxidants. Copper can be found in cocoa in high amounts. Selenium can be found in high amounts, things like Brazil nuts. Vitamin E is great in I think sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds are really high in vitamin E. Vitamin E is really potent and concentrated in sunflower seeds, and vitamin C obviously in vegetables and citrus fruits and things like that. And again, like I said, taking vitamin C, vitamin E for your antioxidant protection, it's inconclusive whether or not that's going to provide benefit. In fact, there are some studies suggesting it doesn't provide benefit. In fact, may even provide some harm, some level of harm. But I think that when it comes to antioxidant supplements, personally, I don't take antioxidant supplements. I think that you should, that I personally, I can only speak for myself, but I personally reach for foods that are high in antioxidants, so that are rich in antioxidants. And if I'm taking a supplement and it does include a plant-based extract, I'm okay with that because I know it's going to contain antioxidants. But I don't want the antioxidants directly necessarily. Like I'm personally not taking catalase or superoxide dismutase as a supplement. I'm not really taking individual vitamins. It's just really this biotin supplement that contains B12 and folate, and I'm taking that maybe every other day because I'm supplementing that with my whole foods diet, which is pretty much high in a lot of nutrients, a lot of vitamins, not so much potassium and magnesium. That's harder to get by. I have to take sort of a magnesium supplement for that, and consume like one, maybe two avocados a day to get that potassium, because that's really hard to get by. But when it comes to antioxidants, I don't supplement personally because I don't think there's good research out there to suggest that it's going to be helpful for overall health or improving health or longevity or anti-aging, things like that. So really, I think it's good to get it from whole forms in food. So aside from antioxidants, what other molecules and compounds out there that may be related to anti-aging, specifically skin and the visible sides of aging? So one of the things that I have really picked up recently is NAD. So this is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So it's a mouthful, but that's why it's abbreviated to NAD or NAD+. So like I said, this is a really powerful compound, and I'll devote an entire episode diving deep into this in the future. But NAD is a classical coenzyme that mediates many redox reactions. And I'm sorry if you can hear sort of like all my breathing and my in these videos, but this is a really good microphone. But they mediate many redox reactions, and just like a lot of things like antioxidants and other things in the body, the levels of NAD+, they decline over time. So you're going to get declining levels of NAD. And these are really important because the declines, or I don't want to say deficits, but really like the reduction of NAD+, they may cause defects in sort of nuclear and mitochondrial functions. And these can result in many like age-related or associated pathologies and sort of issues, not even just, slumps in energy, but just a lot of different things, a lot of negative age-associated conditions and pathologies and issues. So it's thought, and it has been studied fairly extensively, and there's ongoing research showing that restoring NAD+, restoring this nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide NAD levels, restoring these through exercise as well as through supplementation with NAD precursors or intermediates, can dramatically ameliorate sort of age-associated functional defects. So I think it's really promising in the anti-aging field. People like David Sinclair, for instance, talks a lot about not only resveratrol, but NAD, and because there's so much research out there showing an association between NAD and youthfulness and vitality. And when it comes to skin health, let's sort of back up a little bit and talk about these sirtuins. So NAD may ultimately sort of enhance the activity of sirtuins. And this is a family of enzymes. And one of the most extensively studied sirtuin is sirtuin 1 or SIRT1. And again, most extensively studied sirtuin, that's a member of the family, and it's dependent on NAD+. So in order to activate it, it's dependent upon that NAD+. And what SIRT1 does is it regulates transcriptional activities of many different proteins engaged in the oxidative stress response. So this is really important. Like I talked about previously, the oxidative damage is associated with age-related issues and pathologies, and the skin, like the visible signs of aging related to oxidative stress, reactive oxygen species. So it's really important to know that these sirtuins that are dependent, SIRT1 in particular, is dependent on NAD. The sirtuin regulates those transcriptional activities of the proteins engaged in oxidative stress, or the response to oxidative stress. So keep that in mind. It also sort of mediates the benefits of caloric restriction. I think a lot of people talk about NAD as being a calorie restriction mimetic. So you can sort of take a precursor, an intermediate of NAD, like NMN, which I'll get into in a minute, that can help to sort of mimic the benefits of calorie restriction. There's a lot of research on calorie restriction suggesting that calorie restriction is associated with longer lifespan, as well as just more vitality, more energy, and sort of looking younger. And I think that is a lot related to just sort of the reduced burden of oxidative damage that occurs with food and metabolizing and digesting food. One of the things that also decreases over time is the cutaneous expression of SIRT1. So our skin also contains these sirtuins that help to, are maybe implicated in the oxidative stress response. Also declines with age. So that's another reason why maybe trying to potentially get those NAD levels up may be really important in helping to combat oxidative stress and oxidative damage in the skin. Other research suggests that SIRT1 expression is associated with total fibroblast amount. So its proliferative activity and may be responsible for the development of skin aging symptoms. So it's really important. I think it's really interesting to know that there is an association between SIRT1 expression and declines in SIRT1 expression with skin aging symptoms. And also, I think another important thing to mention is that SIRT1 can affect, at least according to the research, may affect UV-related skin changes. So there are several, like I mentioned, several factors associated with extrinsic aging. UV, or ultraviolet radiation, many researchers think that skin aging, UV is responsible for up to 80 or up to 90% of skin aging, the visible signs of skin aging. So to know that SIRT1 may affect UV-related skin aging changes is really, I think, really important and really important to keep in mind. So there was a study looking at, and I'll put this down in the reference section, but there was a study looking at the sort of the epidermal expression, so the expression of SIRT1 in the skin in samples these were samples obtained from healthy volunteers, and they showed that significantly reduced expression of SIRT1 in sun-exposed areas. They found that there was significantly reduced expression of that sirtuin in sun-exposed areas compared to non-exposed areas, showing that the sun drastically reduces SIRT1. Also, overexpression of SIRT1, the same study found that overexpression of SIRT1 is found to enhance oxidative stress resistance, and this was via the FOXO3 alpha promoted upregulation of the ROS enzyme, the enzymatic antioxidant superoxide dismutase, and as well as catalase. So the implications of that, or the suggested implications of that, is that the increased NAD increases the sirtuin-1, or basically ultimately the increased sirtuin-1 may upregulate superoxide dismutase and catalase, which again breaks down that hydrogen peroxide in the body and may help to protect the skin as well as maybe even the hair. I think that's really, really cool. But there's also experimental evidence that has shown considerably decreased SIRT1 in human dermal fibroblasts, exposed hydrogen peroxide. There we go with the H2O2 again. And there's some research out there to suggest that SIRT1 may also protect against pollution-associated aging. So pollutants in the environment are also associated with skin aging. So it's not just the sun, but it's also many other things in our environment that can be associated with that, with the visible signs of aging. So let me just take a sip of water real quick. Now I know that people like David Sinclair and Ben Greenfield, who I listen to regularly, I love their podcast. They talk about taking NAD precursors, and that's also mentioned in the literature as well, to increase NAD levels in the body. Something like nicotinamide mononucleotide, or NMN. And this is because NMN and these precursors, they're more easily absorbed than NAD. So I think that's something that I do have an NMN supplement, and I take it not super regularly. I take it maybe like before I head on a plane, because you get a lot of radiation damage or a lot of radiation exposure when you're up in the air. But, when I know I'm going to be in environments where I'm going to be exposed to pollutants or radiation or things like that, I'm going to be taking that NMN, but I don't really take it regularly. I want to do more research on NMN and find like the optimal supplement. And I think that one of the things that people talk about combining with NAD is resveratrol. So you've probably heard of resveratrol. That is a very popular natural or well-known natural phenolic compound in foods. And these are found in grapes, like grape skin, berries, nuts, and seeds. And these are blueberries, for instance. And these are, resveratrol is a potent free radical scavenger. So it can really help to, and it also has a lot of different bioactivity. So in addition to its antioxidant capabilities, it's also anti-inflammatory and hypotensive and hypolipidemic. So basically helps to, or there may be an association between resveratrol and healthy blood pressure and healthy cholesterol levels. It's also been shown to be immunomodulatory. So it's a really potent natural phenolic compound that I think is very accessible because it is found in foods, but it's also less understood than you might think. So resveratrol, in addition to NAD, or in addition to sirtuin, similar to sirtuin, it also mimics calorie restriction, and it does so by inhibiting something called cyclic adenosine monophosphate. And let me see if I can say this, phosphodiesterase enzymes, as well as SIRT1. So it also activates the SIRT1 pathway. Resveratrol activates the SIRT1 pathway. So when you combine resveratrol and an NAD precursor like NMN, it can be very powerful in its anti-aging properties. And it can also just help to, there's sort of like a synergistic effect when you take those two together. I think that the research suggests that when resveratrol is taken with NMN, it helps to just boost the NAD levels in the heart, as well as in the skeletal muscle. So you get sort of greater bioavailability and uptake of that NAD, which I think sort of, to me, in my mind, it translates to overall increase of bioavailability of NAD. So you're getting that, increased uptake of the really powerful antioxidant effects that you would get from both individually. You're getting that synergistically and together, and just sort of like an expansion within your body, which I think is really cool. So one of the things, a good deal of research also suggests that resveratrol may have benefits for extending a lifespan, but this is mostly in animal models. I think that I would love to see more human research on resveratrol to see, if there's some sort of longevity effects, like truly longevity effects. I think that we would need a lot of long-term studies of people taking resveratrol or consuming resveratrol-rich diets over the long term. But there's some research also to suggest that resveratrol may also increase collagen synthesis in the skin by inhibiting MMP1, which is a matrix metalloproteinase. I mentioned that previously, but that's basically an enzyme that degrades collagen and elastin. Resveratrol formulations also have been shown to stimulate the proliferation of fibroblasts and contribute to the increase in the concentration of collagen 3, as well as stimulate collagen 1 and 2. The antioxidant properties in resveratrol may also protect against UV radiation on the skin by reducing the expression of AP1 and NF-κB factors. So let me just sort of back up. Resveratrol can stimulate the activity of something called the nuclear factor erythroid 2 related factor 2, which is again, a mouthful. These words are mouthfuls, but this is basically NRF2. This is a pathway, antioxidant pathway. And it promotes the activities of antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase, like catalase. So the fact that resveratrol can stimulate the activity of this pathway, this NRF2 pathways that activates these enzymes, I think is really, really important and something that I want to start doing. I don't supplement with resveratrol. I have found a supplement that contains both NMN and resveratrol together. So I'm researching that, trying to figure out, if that's worthwhile. But I think resveratrol is definitely really powerful. I know David Sinclair raves about it, and he takes that, I think, every day is what I have read. I don't know if he's changed that, but there's also some inhibitory effect of resveratrol on skin photoaging processes via UVA and UVB. I think I pretty much covered that. It might be related to its antioxidant properties and the ability to activate those other antioxidants like catalase and superoxide dismutase. But honestly, when it comes to resveratrol, one of the reasons why I don't supplement with it is because, just like a lot of nutrition things, there's a lot of inconsistent findings. And I think that we need more longer term research in humans, and we need to have sort of more conclusive evidence to really show an effect. I think that still with a lot of things that I do and supplement with, we don't have a lot of long-term studies on, and we don't have a lot of long-term human studies on. So more than likely, I will one day supplement with resveratrol and NMN on a more regular basis. But right now I'm just sort of in the research phase. But I think this is really good research to know, so that you can just sort of take this and do your own research and, find what works for you, especially when it comes to anti-aging. So another molecule that I really, really am passionate about, that I also don't supplement with, at least yet. I actually used to supplement with this, and I really, really liked it because this is also a potent antioxidant. It is a carotenoid, and this is astaxanthin. So have you ever seen like flamingos or like really pink salmon that hasn't been dyed? This is the astaxanthin. This is the pink pigment that is coloring these animals. It is a carotenoid, and like other carotenoids, there are carotenoids in your skin, naturally present in your skin, that protect your skin from the sun, protect it against from the UV, from the ultraviolet radiation, and it helps to really promote overall youthfulness and provide just sort of a defense mechanism against the invaders, particularly at UV, because that's really powerful. But the sun, and over time, but the sun definitely depletes carotenoids in your skin and reduces the natural protection that you have when you're a lot younger, when you have that natural protection. So having that carotenoid, I think, having a diet rich in carotenoids is really important. But when it comes to astaxanthin, let's just talk about what astaxanthin is. So it's a carotenoid. It's biosynthesized by microalgae or phytoplankton. So a lot of the supplements out there are found in krill, because a lot of the krill, like little tiny fish, there's krill oil and krill oil supplements. That's what I was taking to get, it was combined with astaxanthin, but it's biosynthesized by these microalgae, and krill consumes this microalgae, it consumes this phytoplankton, and it accumulates in this krill. And so that's why a lot of krill supplements are really powerful, because they not only contain omega-3 fatty acids, but they also contain this astaxanthin, this powerful antioxidant. But basically, it accrues in krill and fish and salmon, and it really gives the characteristic pink and red colors. And when it comes to the research, it's the anti-aging research, the visible signs of anti-aging, it's shown, just like other carotenoids out there, astaxanthin does have a significant photoprotective effect, and it counteracts UVA-induced alterations to a significant extent. So I think it's just, via the antioxidant capabilities that astaxanthin has, it helps to, and I think it's really, even studies have shown supplementation with astaxanthin and the consumption of astaxanthin, as well as the topical application of astaxanthin or formulations like creams that have astaxanthin in them, can help to counteract that UVA-induced aging, the alterations that happen in the skin. I think that's so cool because it's so readily available. Like, you can get it through krill supplements. I think they also have just like astaxanthin, straight up astaxanthin supplements. But me, I like to take it in sort of like the whole form, like a krill supplement. But there's also studies showing that astaxanthin can increase collagen content, and it does this through inhibition of MMP1 and MMP3 expression in human dermal fibroblasts. It may also assist in DNA repair. So I think through the inhibition of those enzymes that degrade collagen and elastin, as well as the DNA repair processes that it may assist with, provides a significant or considerable boon to anti-aging enthusiasts that are doing everything we can to protect our skin, to protect our hair, to protect our bodies, and just our overall lifespan and our health and our well-being, I think is really important because, having, this in our arsenal, having all of these products in our arsenal, I think is really important. But I'll get that in the takeaway later. But also, other studies show that topical and dietary supplementation with astaxanthin has beneficial effects on skin elasticity, collagen expression, as well as moisture content. So all of these decline over time. So if you can have something, again, that is helping with moisture content, I'm just like moving away from the microphone every time, moisture content, skin elasticity, it's not just about the collagen, it's also about the elasticity, as well as the collagen expression. It's just it's so neat. And again, I would love to see more research on this in humans, longer term research. But there was a recent study, and I'll leave it down in the reference section, but this was by Suganuma et al. And they didn't pronounce that, I'm sorry, Suganuma, Dr. Suganuma. But it showed that astaxanthin could interfere with UVA-induced matrix metalloproteinase 1, MMP1, and skin fibroblast elastase and neutral endopeptidase expression. So it's really, really cool. It's really cool research that we have here on this this antioxidant that is found in, well, mainly in fish, but also found in supplements, obviously, krill oil and just straight up astaxanthin. It's really cool that we have these compounds. Now, again, there's a lot of research about this that is in vitro, meaning it's like in like a cell in a dish, like petri dish. But there's also a good mix of in vivo research here on astaxanthin, as well as these other compounds and molecules I'm talking about. Now, moving on to vitamin C. Vitamin C, another powerful antioxidant. It's a great antioxidant. It's found rich in fruit and vegetables and things like that. And I think it's great to get it from the whole food source, but it's not super stable, okay? And it may also be a pro-oxidant in excess. So taking excess amounts of vitamin C, I don't really know what the implications are, the long-term implications, the implications of the oxidation that may happen in the body. I really don't know. I'm not an expert on vitamin C. If you are an expert on vitamin C and you want to come on this podcast, let me know. Write to me, email me, brandon@maymedcom.com. Let me know. Com with a COMM, 2 M's. But vitamin C, great antioxidant. You can get it from food. You can get a lot from food, especially if you're eating vegetables that are rich in it, like, well, basically anything. Kale, spinach, lettuce. Lettuces are high in vitamin C. Lemon juice. You can get vitamin C from a plethora of sources. So I think it's great. Collagen C is actually responsible for collagen synthesis, or it's involved in the synthesis of collagen. So, I used to take vitamin C supplements all the time. I've since stopped, and I just get it from food because I get enough from food. I mean, I get way over 100%, 200% of my daily value from food sources every single day. So I don't necessarily need to take the supplements, but there are some supplements that I take like on an irregular basis. Like there's like a natural allergy supplement that contains quercetin as well as bromelain and stinging nettle that also has vitamin C in it. But usually I don't supplement with it because I just want to get it from whole food sources because it's really bound together with other nutrients and fiber and all the other beneficial compounds that are fantastic at anti-aging and really supporting skin health and integrity and hair health and things like that. So vitamin C, potent antioxidant, helps with collagen synthesis, but personally, I don't take it in supplement form, just get it from whole foods. Now, that is basically the podcast, and that was the episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I want to do a future episode on these individual compounds and molecules and really do a deep dive. One episode focused on NAD, one focused on resveratrol, do a deep dive on the anti-aging benefits and effects of each of these and really focus on the visible side of aging, the visible signs of aging, the molecular, the cellular signs of aging, longevity, wellness, things like that. But for now, I just wanted to really do a sort of brief overview so you can be introduced to these if you're not already, and just sort of see what the research out there is and the implications it has for anti-aging. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you are not a subscriber, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify and you're not a subscriber to my YouTube and you want to see the video portion of this, definitely go to my YouTube. It is Brandon Miles May. If you are on YouTube, thank you for joining me. Please give this a like on, down below. I'd really love to. That really helps my channel out a lot. Definitely subscribe. I would love to have you here. I plan on posting these podcasts once a week. So I would love to have you here once a week. We can talk about, anti-aging. I'd love to do live streams and have live questions and answers and things like that. I want to, just sort of switch it up here. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, great. Thank you for sticking around. If you have any comments or, suggestions on what you want to see or talk about, definitely leave that down in the comment section below. I'd love to have your input. And from the studio, that is my kitchen and my living room, I hope you are having a good one. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you later. See you in the next video if you're here on YouTube, and I am out. See you. Bye, everybody. Thanks.